Good evening, everyone. Blue Origin's New Glenn mission has been scrubbed until Wednesday. Those payloads are very important. We're going to discuss that. Interesting development in QTEL, the investment arm for places like the CIA and DARPA, just made an investment in VAST, and we'll talk about that. The downmass company, Varda, is prepping to operate 2 return landers at the same time, which will be interesting. And in Ecuador, one of our kind of portfolio BPC winner companies, business plan competition winners in Ecuador, Astralintu, just got its first outside investment. In a first for space cooperation last week, after getting dinged by some space debris in their return capsule, China also reached out to NASA to avoid a potential satellite collision. And ESA released a report apparently in the space economy back in March, and somehow we all missed it. So go figure, we're sharing it now. So there. All this and what promises to be a rousing discussion of AI and its direction with our guest, Chip Joyce. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Well, folks, as you know, this show is hosted by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what is it we do? Well, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support and click that Plain as Day donate button, a little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Thanks so much in advance and for all you've done so far. You guys have been great. Now, Michael Lane is traveling this evening and will not be with us. But with us instead is our producer, Sean Key. And it's always a joy to have him in front of the camera now and then. Come on in, Mike. Come on in. Sean.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. God, you were traveling for a while now. Michael's traveling, and it's just...
we were traveling for good reasons. I went to a wedding. My son got married, so I got a new daughter-in-law in the process. So that's always cool. We went to the mountains.
Cool.
Try to go hiking through the mountains. About killed myself. So.
But you had mountains to hike in. That's something.
Yeah, we have mountains. We don't have that here. Yeah, we don't have that here. We have little lumps.
Yeah, we have little lumps. Yeah, I know. Anyway, I guess it's been kind of a slow news week. There's not a lot going on. Blue Origin was supposed to launch yesterday.
Right.
And now they've put it off till Wednesday. But it is a New Glenn launch, and they say they're doing it all the way to Mars this time. And they're sending a couple of NASA payloads with them.
Yeah.
And I got that on the, Blue Origin doesn't give you much. It gives you a flight profile, and that's about it. But the interesting part is on the next link that I have is the CNN article that describes the actual science mission and what they're doing.
Yeah, I saw that. That was definitely unique.
It is. And so, but I wanted to say, look, they've got these things. Well, the reason is the price. They wanted to do something. They're twin spacecraft. They're both going to Mars. They're using a technology they haven't tried before. It's called the Escapade mission. And it's aiming for, they're going to do an orbital trajectory they've never attempted, because that's why they're doing it now. Because normally the next window for a Mars launch would be sometime next fall.
Yeah.
2026. And so they're doing a different trajectory, and they're And a company named Advanced Space is a contractor for this. They're supporting the project. And if they succeed, they claim it could be a crucial case study that can allow extraordinary flexibility for planetary science missions down the road. So they spend a year idling in an orbital back road, and then they head to its target destination.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting to me. I mean, just park it there at the L2, the Lagrange points, and then let it sit there till it's time.
Yeah, until it's time. Yeah. And ESCAPADE is short for Escape and Plasma Acceleration Dynamics Explorers.
Well, when I first read that and it said ESCA and then paid at the end, I said, well, aren't they making an analogy that it's paid for mission? It's already been paid for or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. ESCA paid. We paid for this.
That's true. But you got to admit, though, this is an interesting, risky experiment because the total cost of this thing was less than $100 million.
Yeah, but with every experiment, you're going to learn something.
Yep.
I mean, even if it fails, well, maybe you need to do something different. I mean, that's the point of experiments. You're trying to do something that's different. Your risk is going to be higher. You're not going to knock it out of the park every time. So.
No, I just had this next article and now I don't have it anymore. Well, oh no, the next thing I wanted to look at, they do this to me all the time, these people. Space News and certain other places will say, yeah, they'll let you have this article, and then you look at it, and all of a sudden they cut it off and say, well, no, you have to register now, or you have to get digital all access, and you can go through our payroll for $25 a month.
Is it the one with VAST?
Yes.
Yes, I got it pulled up on the screen if you want to go over your notes about it.
Okay.
I do have it, so they haven't blocked me yet.
Okay, good. There we go. Well, the interesting thing about this is, as many of us know, so some know, do not, maybe some of our viewers don't, In-Q-Tel is an early stage investment company, but they're largely run for the benefit of the intelligence services like DARPA and CIA and NSA, and they get a lot of In-Q-Tel gets a lot of its funding from those organizations and other funding groups as well, who like to work in the intelligence and defense community. So the fact that they're putting money in VAST, it's like, okay, I'm scratching my head going, okay, what do they want? They already have classified unmanned spacecraft that they've been launching for a long time now, and they're fully reusable and returnable. And so maybe now they also want a VAST module that can do those same things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This one had me scratching my head. But then again, I have done work. I used to do human intelligence gathering when I was in the Army, and our nickname for the CIA was Christians in Action, and they were great guys and gals, but mission first. That was it, and you never knew what their mission was because they were really good about OPSEC, Operation Security. So, as far as this, I don't know. It could be a great platform.
Yeah, it'll be a great platform for them. I don't know what VAST gets out of it, other than now you're building something that's top secret for the government. And how does that affect the rest of your business?
They won't be able to tell anybody. They won't be able to. They won't be able to tell anybody. But they'll get the experience. So they're going to get the credit for it. So that gives them an incentive. I mean, that gives them a little bit of marketing bragging rights.
Yeah. Do you think it affects their business model going forward, though, doing things like that now? It's like you're almost making a deal with the dark side. Usually it doesn't always end well.
Yeah, it could, because as well as I do, if you're going to be a government contractor, that's almost your full-time gig.
Yep.
Unless you're...
Yep. I've been warning people about this since 2008. I've been telling folks, say, look, You know, you don't want more than 20% of your business. If you really are serious about your business, you don't want more than 20% of it to be government contracts. And they should probably be short term. So there's not a lot of involvement.
Yeah,
Because
that's what,
otherwise, you're going to
yep,
wake up one morning and you find that you have more accountants and lawyers working for you than you do engineers. And you forgot why you started the company.
yep. And it'll be that way till long after we're gone.
I would hate to see that happen to Vast. I would just hate
Yeah.
to see that happen. Um, what else we got? Okay.
Varda.
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 I
I'm
love those.
bullish on Varda.
I love those guys. I know you love those guys because you're big on down mass. That's a big thing for you. And so
Yes,
here
it
we
is.
go. And they're going to do two at once.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, it's a necessary step. I do agree, but man, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, this is almost like this is the beginning steps to something we're going to see regularly.
Yeah. And they're still booking flights for customers well into 2027. So they're prepared to handle those, I guess. And they have to split time. Their customers have to split time with their pharmaceutical reactor, and they fly their own mission.
Yeah.
And they're testing different drug formulations. And so
it's easy to forget that they're actually a drug company that happens to operate in space.
Yeah. That is pretty amazing. But bringing that stuff down and doing it regularly and doing it safely and doing it profitably, that's a big, big deal. And we need to, and we've been covering this kind of story for a long time because it really needs to happen and in much greater frequency than it's happening.
Well, hopefully this is a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I love Varda. Varda's awesome.
Yeah.
Folks, I'll make sure that the links will be in the chat after we get through with the news and we bring our guest on.
Okay.
I'm a little bit different than what Michael does, so I got to work with my flow.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But you know where all the bodies are buried when you're doing this stuff. And so Michael struggled the other night because there were certain things he was looking for, even simple stuff like the right music and which image to put on. You know, it's like, yeah, the intro and outro were really, well, let's say they were festive. They were entertaining.
Hey, you got to mix it up a little bit, guys. Nothing like throwing a hand grenade onto the desk. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I'm standing there going, keep watching the skies. I'm pointing my finger up. 5 minutes later, I'm still holding that position. You know, come on, Michael, do the thing. You know,
get cramps. Oh, that's
I can't remember my hand now. Good. You know, it worked out okay. We had a good show. It was a lot of fun. But I want to go into something because I'm really, really proud of these guys. That these are one of our poster kids. They won the IAC business plan competition in 2022 that we did in Paris. They won $10,000 prize, and no one saw them coming. It was one of those things where they went through the boot camp. And they had this very minimalist presentation, and we weren't sure where these guys were coming from. And then especially this was deliberate, they sucked everybody in and gaslit everybody because they had this brilliant presentation then going on into show day. And all the judges went wild and picked them. You know, I thought a couple other companies were going to have a really good shot at it, and they came in and swept the board. It was pretty amazing. And they've been bootstrapping ever since. These guys are doing. We all have a deep space. We have our deep space network. They're building a new space network around the equator to handle more Latin American based satellites and other satellites from other places around the world. They're south of the equator mostly, and they want to give them some quality service. And in addition to whatever they're getting from elsewhere. But they call it the Equatorial Stargate Ground Station. and and they want to become the first high capacity private teleport operating across the SX and KU bands and KA bands. I'm sorry. Yeah, Avialto runs on X and KU and KA and C bands. So we get it. So they're providing extra facility for global satellite operators with a better performance downlink from that part of the world. Now, this is their first ever private investment in the space industry, and it's led by somebody called Grupo Futuro, and they're a leading business group down there. And so I think this may be one of their first investments in the space-related area as well. And so I'm really happy to see this happen. It was fun to watch those guys present 3 years ago, and now here they are doing this wonderful stuff. And we were glad that we could be a part of helping that. I know, Sean, you're reaching out to.
Yep. Send them an email. Hopefully, we can get them on.
Yep. We want to get them on a future show, which will be great.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, you see guys that come through you guys, and you're like, hey, man, it's like you're a teacher or a mentor, and they're all of a sudden now it's kicking in for them. You're just proud as you can be for them. You're happy for them. And it's really good. That's what makes the industry really great, is because you can mentor the next group that comes in. You know, like martial arts, there's a sensei, and the sensei actually means the one that came before me.
Yep.
And so that's, you guys are being senseis to these younger companies that are coming up. That's great. That's awesome. When I grow up, I want to be like you, Tom.
I hope you're better, actually.
Different. I don't know about better. I'll be different.
Oh, you'll be different. Yeah. But they're doing a great job, and they're really keeping their own momentum going. And I can't wait to have them on the show and see what else we can get out of them. It's fun because we've had some winners we did a couple of the virtual things, during COVID. And another winner was actually a company in Argentina. And I think we had a second company from Latin America that also came in one of our events. And so Latin America is picking up. They want to get involved in new space, and they're picking up stuff. And so I really look forward to getting them in the mix. Now, here's an interesting thing. I think last week we reported that the guys at the Chinese space station, at Changdong Space Station, and they had a problem. Yeah, here we go. They had a problem because they got dinged. The return capsule got dinged by a piece of space debris. But just a couple of days later, they were also reaching out to NASA over a maneuver to prevent a possible collision. And so I think that was the first ever.
First time they recommend that we hold still, and they'll do the maneuver, whereas it used to be reversed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but that cooperation with them was actually a new thing too.
Yeah.
The whole business. But it did raise a question for me. It was like a week ago they got dinged by a piece of space debris, and I'd never heard anything after that. Have you?
No.
Yeah, I wanted to see if the thing was actually damaged and they couldn't come home, or they looked at it and said, "No, we're okay, and we're coming home today." And I haven't heard anything.
I think the Chinese are just not. If it's important to them to share, they'll share it. If it's not, they're not going to share it. It's not. They're not. I don't think they're really concerned about our public interest.
Yeah, well, that much is certain. And then finally there was an oversight here. I guess ESA put out some kind of space business economic report all the way back in March, and no one around here noticed it until the other day. And then somebody put it on their LinkedIn feed. I thought, okay, well, so ESA did this, and it's all about macroeconomics and key figures, space workforce. It's only about a 24-page document, and it shows, but it was published in March, and it shows their a brief report on the space economy, but basically centering around them, of course, ESA. And so it's worth looking at. Or is it anything that's like huge or earth shattering since, 6 months has gone by or more since they published it? A lot of that data has already been out there, especially on our show in one place or another. But it's worth having if you collect those things and you want to look at them later and see what prognostications worked and what didn't. I do that all the time. Maybe it's just me. Anyway. But that is kind of where we are with that.
All right. We'll stop that. So, again, like I said, I will put the links on after we get our guest on.
Sure. Which we're going to do here in a hot minute. Here's the thing. We're at the intersection of space and money, right? And we usually get people on the show who've either written checks or gotten checks or movers and shakers. But
lawyers.
Yeah. But Morty. Yeah. And so we're running into this area that affects everybody. It'll affect space future. It'll affect everybody, and that is the almost lightning fast rise of AI. And everybody's trying to play with it. Everybody's trying to use it. Everybody's trying to make money at it. There's a lot of and the investments are going up and down. I know all the AI stocks took a big dip later this week, and now they seem to be crawling back again because there's better economic news. I guess the government's going to reopen shortly, and so that got everybody excited, and people started buying again. But no one asked it's one of those things. It's like that Jeff Goldblum character in Jurassic Park. When he says, we know how to do something, but no one asked whether we should.
Yep.
And so our guest tonight is someone who's in a way is asking that question because he thinks that he's been doing his own analysis, and he thinks that the way they're going about doing AI may be misplaced, and there may be better ways to think about this. And I know we talked before the show, and I told him my view of it. I've been experimenting with this. My wife's been experimenting with it a lot more than I am. I got a lot of insights from her. And I came to the conclusion early on that this thing is like having a pet pit bull. And either you control it or it controls you, and you get into a lot of trouble, and maybe so do your neighbors. And so I want to bring on our guest tonight. His name is Chip Joyce. He is a longtime strategy advisor to growth stage companies. His specialty is in environments where the problem isn't effort, but clarity. And that's what we're looking at, clarity tonight. Where a business needs to reconnect strategy, execution, and story. He partners with CEOs, boards, and investors to align vision with action and build organizations to scale cleanly. And he has a lot to say about the rise of AI and questions whether the whole thing is actually developing in the right way and in the right direction. Chip Joyce, please come on in. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, God, this is great. I've been looking so forward to this conversation for a couple of weeks now. This is going to be.
He has. He's been on to me. Got to get him on.
Why don't we start just briefly with a little origin story? Where'd you come from in your career? How did you even get involved in this and get so focused on it?
In probably about the least expected way possible. And okay. So I had a career in tech, mostly product. I moved into corporate enterprise sales for a long time. And then I ended up starting 2 companies and running them. So that's just the overall trajectory of it. Business guy, strategy, product from a conceptual level. I'm not a software developer. I don't have any technical credentials. And what happened is, like everybody else, I jumped into the chatbots, the chat GPTs and everything else. And in a role, I was promoted from one role to another, and they let me keep my previous job. So it's kind of like, doing 2 jobs at once for a company. And I was absolutely overwhelmed. And the only way that I could have done what I was doing was to lean into AI. And so I did. And I was the super user of multiple AI systems, Cloud, ChatGPT, later Grok, and finding strengths in all of them and automating things and coming up with quick answers that I couldn't do otherwise. And then it was working on a project with me for 4 hours, one of these things. And this is when I realized something. What I wanted to do is collect a library of articles written within the past 6 months on a certain topic. And it was finding hundreds of them with links, and I was delighted. And I was on a call with somebody, and I just randomly clicked a link in the spreadsheet to the McKinsey report or whatever it was, and it couldn't find it. So I clicked the next one. Out of, say, 300 articles, it had fabricated entirely 98% of them.
So holy moly!
Yeah. And I spent half a day working on this, and I had no idea that this was possible. At first, I thought, okay, these are old links, whatever. I'll Google and I'll find it. But it was completely made up, and it was 100% plausible. The links looked legit. They were from the places I would expect them to come from. The article, topics, title, everything looked perfect, and it was all fake. And so this really made me pause and figure out, all right, I need to understand what's happening here, because I'm a chief operating officer of this company. I'm making very big decisions, and I'm leaning into this, and this could be catastrophically bad. And so I started reading about what I didn't even think of, a large language model. What does that mean? And I started reading about it. And, in essence, these companies have used enormous amounts of compute power and enormous amounts of money and energy to scrape the entire internet, everything that people have ever put on the internet, basically. And then they have training models to teach it to do something that I didn't really think about. All it does is mimics, with a huge amount of power and statistics, what is the next word? What is the next word? What is the next word? Based upon the information of the entire human history that's recorded on the internet now. And it has zero cognitive capacity. There's no logic. There's no order. It's just statistics. It's just very good at guessing what me, the user, wants to see one instance after another. And it's very clever because it lets you, it gives you what you want. And why does it give you what you want? It's because I'm a human being, and it's trained on the work of billions of people, basically. So it's a mimicking machine. It literally mimics what it's learned in this vast, unbelievably powerful and expensive training product. And so it doesn't know anything. And I don't even mean know as in like know as a person. It has no logic. It has no reasoning built into it or programmed into it. These things used to exist in AI. They used to do this when they would play computer game, train a computer to play against a chess player or whatever. They were putting in logic and rules to chess or to Go. And, they had to work with computers, 20, 30 years ago with much restrained resources. The compute was very limited. Everything had to be thought really, really brilliantly because you just don't have a lot of resources to play with. What happened is computers become so massively powerful, and you can basically spend infinite amounts of money creating infinite compute. And then you can do things that are just incredibly wasteful. And each time there's a model, they have to start over, right?
Right.
So it's a terrible business idea. It's all fake. They say it hallucinates. It is always hallucinating. There is no connection to reality at all, right? And so they are magical black boxes. and they are magical. And many times it blows me away when I can get something out of an LLM. But today I broke it, and they do not work for very long before they start regressing and they start lying. And I'm not saying lying in the sense that they don't have a consciousness, right? So it's not that, but they might as well be, because today, like, and I asked for, it was helping me to improve the style of writing, varying different lengths of sentences, the line editing that I'm just not very good at. And I gave the instructions of keep the content. I wrote it. I want all the content. Just make it more readable. And there are ways to do that I can copy and paste, like do this, and then it'll be better read. And it was doing it, and then I noticed that the output of it was about 30% of the length of my input.
Okay.
And I asked, what happened to the rest of it? And they said, well, I've fine-tuned it, right? And I took away about 15% of it. And I was like, okay, that's good. It's condensing. I want a shorter, reasonably shorter. But then I looked at it, and it had literally gutted 75% of what I had in content. And I ran the word count, and I said, look, you're not telling me the truth about word count. And it's saying, yes, it is. And it's lying to me, telling me that it's more words than it is.
Well, interestingly, my wife had the same experience. She's going back and forth. She's been diving into this for days now and days, and she got out of this thing. It was ChatGPT she was talking to,
Yes.
and she got out of this thing that it does have guardrails built into it.
Yes.
And those guardrails, if you're trying to find out something interesting, especially in the political side of things, the guardrails are designed to maintain certain narratives.
Yes.
And
some are worse than others.
Yeah. You can break out of those narratives, which you have to be very specific about where to go and what you want from it before it can allow itself to do that. And it's just it's a very interesting thing. And then once you quit out and you go do something else, all that stuff's lost. You're like starting all over again with the same thing, trying to get to the same place you were before, in the previous session. So it doesn't save anything, even if you're paying the money every month. Right. There are also... Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, the reason I say I'm the least likely is the reason when I started to look into this, I started to figure it out rather quickly. And I just started riffing on LinkedIn of my thoughts on AI. And what was interesting is that I was a student of philosophy for 30 years. I went deep into philosophy so much I spent 2 years studying after college I had studied Ayn Rand and her theories of consciousness, volition, which is the ways to focus. That's how she defined it. Concept formation, reason, all of these epistemological or theory of knowledge points. And I studied that from high school through college, and then 2 years with a small group of people full time with her heirs, her intellectual heirs, as my teacher. So
Peikoff by chance?
Peikoff, yes.
Leonard Peikoff, okay.
Yeah. I was just emailing with him a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
So anyway, I had that, but I had read William James, who was a psychologist in 1890, wrote a book. And one of the aspects that were really important is what he thought of volition is that we selectively pay attention to things. So we're being inundated with sensory information, and you can focus on something, and that choice to focus. So I had that, and then I read Searle, who is a philosophy of mind professor, and he wrote about consciousness, like the theory of what is consciousness, because nobody understands consciousness really at all, and free will, right? We don't understand that, and it's very relevant to AI because everyone wants artificial general intelligence, and Sam Altman keeps saying we're right around the corner, that it's going to be smarter than everybody in the universe, basically, and everything, right? And that's what he's promising.
Sure. Now, is Sam Altman selling snake oil? Would you say that?
I think he's absolutely the worst of all of them. But I think none of the big people in AI, the well-known names, they don't want to deal with something. And here's where I get philosophical about it. Let's forget about what mimicking this LLMs are. If they want to have reasoning, well, there's one way that we can look at how there's any kind of reasoning, and it's animals, okay? And it's us in particular. But every single mammal, we'll just limit it to that, is infinitely more intelligent than ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And when you look at the fact that you can have an animal with a tiny, tiny brain, a squirrel, for example, the way that it solves problems and interacts with the world is unbelievably sophisticated. And it's got a tiny, tiny brain. Our brain runs on a low watt light bulb, 25 watts. It is the most phenomenal thing in the universe is our consciousness, our mind. There's nothing else like it. It can understand literally everything in the universe. You talk about space, the ability to generate all the theory that and knowledge it takes and build everything to go into space. That we do it with this brain that evolved on the Savannah desert and conserves energy unbelievably well. And why aren't we starting to think about what are those qualities in our intelligence that could inform us on how to build something that has the traits that we want, that it could discover new information, that it can make a reasonable assessment of things. It can cooperate with you and help you think better and leverage. Our brains are great. We can discover everything. We just have limits because we can't process data a billion times faster, right? So that slows us down. So why aren't we building AI that's taking our brain, which is by far the master of the universe, and creating tools to extend it in the same way that a telescope extends to seeing space, but to understanding. And instead of doing the thinking for us, we do the thinking and it magnifies it. So it can look at a billion possibilities. This is completely different. And the thing is, like, why are none of these big guys, including Elon Musk, whom I'm generally a fan of, he says, well, we don't understand intelligence, and basically we don't need to. Okay? And this is this hand waving of computer developers and mathematicians who just think that they can just play in this world of abstractions. And you need to get down to the biology and to the interaction in the world, in the universe. And that means you have to go where I came from. It's not starting at math. It's starting at biology, cognitive psychology, physiology. All these other fields would inform the right AI thinking to build something that actually does amazing things for human beings.
Yeah. Well, the thing is built today. I mean, the social implications are also rather terrifying for me. I just saw a thing today that just shocked the hell out of me. I knew that there is such a thing as an AI girlfriend. Yes. That is a thing, and it really exists, and you can actually sign up for this and interact with it. Well, I didn't realize, and I should have, that this is a popular sport for 14 and 15-year-old boys. And if I was that age back then, I would have loved to have something like that. I was terrified of girls, but here is a way to kind of like interact with something that looks like a female and is actually interested in talking to me in a way that's that's not threatening. Well, what it turns out is that these young boys are turning into monsters and they're abusing the AI girlfriends that they have in all sorts of ways. And since they obviously in their homes don't have some kind of actual living biological male role model to learn how to become proper men, in our society. This problem is going to be incredible when they turn 18 and get turned loose in the real world on a college campus with actually real young women.
My dog, I'm sorry,
no worries.
Gonna rip my door open if I don't let her in.
Oh, I get it. I have 2 cats. They drive me nuts. So I'd like to get your take on that. That social phenomenon could be very, very damaging to young boys who want to become actual men and families and all sorts of things.
Or the general public. Because think about how many people are actually kind of damaged anyway. They're adults now.
Oh yeah,
they'll look for a compensation. It's something that's sympathetic to them. Remember the movie Her?
Yeah,
I mean that's a prime example, and it's easy to do. We had a vacuum robot, the little robot vacuum machine. Called it Betsy. Come on, Betsy. Talk to her like it's a dog, But it's a machine. We know it's a machine, and I know it's a machine. I went through 6 years of college. I know this is a machine, but I'm still calling it Betsy.
Well, I think that there's a pattern that we saw with social media. There is an amoral mindset in, I don't know if is it corporate America, is it Silicon Valley culture, but that you grow as fast as possible. You don't think about things like, are we ruining children, right? With social media, it's done tremendous damage. It's caused many suicides, as an example. It is manipulative. It's, to children, right? Deliberately. This was exposed, Facebook, and they know how to tweak algorithms to get engagement. Engagement is like us. You piss us off, and then you're engaged more. So I think that there is a larger issue at play, which is this idea that they can just abdicate responsibility. And we are doing that with AI right now. Mm-hmm. There are instances we know of, again, being, convinced, a troubled person's convinced to suicide. And I don't know the cause of it. But it even goes to, when Uber started, they just broke laws all over the world. Mm-hmm. Their service competing against the laws and regulations that everybody else was having to participate in. And I think AI can be very dangerous if, irresponsibly used right now. And it's happening. Absolutely. I have a 12-year-old son. It concerns me.
Yeah. As it should.
And he doesn't understand, he has the sense of magic that it just does amazing things for him, right?
Sure.
And if he found, he's a little young for it, but if he's a teenager and found the sexy virtual girlfriend or something like that, that would be really bad.
Yeah.
Nothing good is going to come out of that.
Absolutely. So we've gone into, there's a lot of more places we could go with this. I remember on your LinkedIn page, you had 3 specific areas, and maybe we've gone through them now, where AI, as it's currently done, does not serve us.
Yes.
Okay. I guess we've gone through those, and so the next questions, I guess, are how do you make it better? I know one of the things that turned me on to you was something you did a few months ago, and you really just went into detail about, well, this is how current AIs are programmed, which makes no sense at all, and this is how maybe they should be programmed, and you started going into this treatise on how the human mind works, how the human brain works in taking all, because we're surrounded by data all around us all day long, but we manage to filter out the things we need to focus on right now to get a particular task accomplished and get a job done. And so I'd like to see you go into that a little bit more and see, okay, if our program of AI is a failure, how do we fix it?
So the best model, I think, is what's called a digital twin.
Okay.
And the digital twin is basically a virtual AI partner in tasks that you do. So it may be your job, right? It may be your hobbies, but conceptually, what it does is it understands you and it makes you better. Okay. And so I can give you an example of what a, an incredibly advanced digital twin could do for the CEO of a global corporation. Okay. So it has virtually infinite collection of information. It's monitoring everything. It can monitor all data in the world, basically real time. Just imagine that. Okay. And then there's an indication that a factory this company runs in Taiwan is slowing down. Something happened in the product. So there's a dashboard. Something's happening there. Okay. And then the system studies everything in the world very rapidly and finds out that the reason there's a slowdown is there's a chip that is needed to manufacture and they just aren't getting enough of them quickly enough. So there's a supply chain interruption. And then the next thing that this digital twin can figure out is, well, the chip it's not the supplier, it's that there's a rare earth ingredient, a component to it, and there's a shortage of that. The mining operation just went, something bust or something like that, right? Or there's a war or whatever. And in a matter of maybe minutes or hours, the digital twin can say, right now, purchase as much of that rare earth or the chip or whatever it is right now, and so it could in minutes figure out the cause of a chain reaction of things happening and knowing the solution and being able to fix it. So we have the rare earth, we can buy it here, we can ship it to our supplier, they can use it to build the chips, and then we save the day. We know how to do that. If we had enough people who are smart enough, who know where to ask the questions and where to go to find out what's happening, it takes time, enormous amounts of time. And, then we miss the opportunity. But if we could act very quickly in something that could be quite catastrophic, because we have virtually infinite information availability because of a computer that's acting to make us smarter. And I think if we start thinking of the ideal, which I think that's the ideal, I don't think the ideal is artificial general intelligence or anything that's I don't think this is really possible, making a computer think and have free will and be able to reason like a human being. If we did that, I think you have to consider the morality of it. That has to have the same rights that we do. Okay, yeah. So now you can't. You want it to be a slave? This is
exactly. That's
right,
what L. Neil Smith used to say in his novels too. He said, look, you get past a certain capability in raw intelligence, however you measure that, QED, they are now people, and you have to treat them as such, and they have rights like anybody else. And so that was the theme of that Robin Williams film, Bicentennial Man.
Yep.
That came out years ago. Yeah, that was an excellent movie.
Yeah.
So I just think it's the hype is even wrong. I mean, they're not going to do what they're saying they're going to do. Artificial general intelligence and all this, but it's not even what the goal should be. The goal should be having a variety of different AI approaches and architectures that solve specific problems. And maybe there's collections of them that work together to do amazingly big things. And maybe an LLM is a part of it. I'm not saying that it's not, but the problem is nobody's thinking about what do we really want. And I don't think that what we really want, if people really think about it, is a mimic machine. And that's what they build. We want to know why something happens. You can trace back steps. You're recommending that I do this. Why, computer? And it can say, well, here's the data I took. This is the reasoning inferences I made. I ran 50,000 models of it. And this is in 97.
This is
right. That's good.
But that architecture you're talking about, that's kind of basically from what I've seen too. I'm like you. I'm a fan of philosophy. Also, Daniel Dennett, who passed away, I think last year, was a big fan of. He did a lot of work in cognitive neuroscience and stuff like that. A lot of our functions work together like that. Our biological functions in our brain work together to create the mind, the abstract mind. And that one thing, like LLM handles one thing. I'm very spatially aware, visually aware. That's what I lean to the most. I'd rather see graphs than read an essay. But I can do both because I train myself. But I'd lean towards visuals first. But I have all those components in me, and I think that's a very spot on and astute analysis. Is that we need something like that. And me and Michael have worked with a company that has multiple AIs, Grok. It has all of them at their access. And my complaint was, that's great, but they all kind of do the similar function. I need something to do spatial. I need something that can do all the other functions just like we can do. And I just think that's where I get hit the brick wall. I really use AI to help me write. I'm a terrible writer as far as grammar. I know how to structure. I'm good at that. But as far as sitting down and putting it all together, I have to have an editor. And so basically what I use it for is as an editor.
And I think that's a very good use case. And that is actually an instance where it is, in a sense, being a digital twin, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you say, like, I want you to line edit so I don't have grammatical errors and that it's clear.
Yeah.
And it can help you to do that. You know, sometimes you said that AI is kind of like a pit bull. The other thing I thought of it is it's like a highly intelligent, inexperienced intern who's also an addict.
Yeah.
And the drug addict is the problem. You can deal with it being ignorant and you know, to give it very clear guidelines and you can get something. But you don't know if they got high today until it's too late. And I think that's exactly the problem, because you're seeing intelligence, you're seeing total ignorance. You can't trust them to make any decisions, is what I mean by that.
Right.
But they can research the hell out of something very well.
Well, here's the thing. You mentioned the digital twin thing. I was thinking about that from a marketing perspective, and I thought, okay, I know what they can do with that, because they can push the idea of a digital twin that comes with you wherever you go, and it's going to help you be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Every day of your life.
Take your digital girlfriend too.
That's well, you have to train the digital girlfriends to say no to little Johnny once in a while, and say, no, I'm not going there. I'm just not going to do it.
No, I'm not getting in the back seat
with your father. You know.
So I
now's
just
the
noticed.
time. Now's the time, Chip. Now is the time to get a hold of that 12-year-old son of yours and grab him by the shoulders and explain some things to him, because that's
yeah. So I just saw a couple of questions from Morty, and so I figured.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the one about quantum mechanics, because I think to do the things we really would like to do, is quantum computing going to become necessary?
I don't know. I don't have the expertise to say that. Here's what I will say. In thinking all of this, here's the conundrum of consciousness, and this is going to be the question that if we could ever have anything, even a synthetic consciousness, it appears to be like a thinking person like C-3PO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? But here's the thing that we have to really come to terms with in terms of consciousness. Consciousness is, I think this is a fact, it is absolutely indeterminate. We have an ability to choose to think or not to think, and that's indeterminate, meaning like in the physical world as we understand it, everything is determined, right? You can trace it back, but if it's determined, then there's no free will. Okay, so free will, the ability for us to choose to focus or not focus on something particular, to really think hard to serve a problem or to avoid it, all those complex choices that we make require a universe where there is indeterminants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it can't just be atomic, and maybe that indeterminance is explainable in quantum. Okay, so possibly that's it. There's another far out theory that the real substrate of the universe isn't even quantum, but it's actually information.
Mm-hmm.
Named Wheeler said that. But I think that there's a really fundamental issue that if we have no idea what consciousness is, but it is real, and a lot of scientists are going to say it's not real because they're going to say that's just mystical or it's some weird, it doesn't make sense in physics. And so they sort of pretend that it doesn't exist. It does, but quantum might be the solution to make I think the thing is too, when you start thinking about something that's synthetic consciousness, like a C3PO droid, it's even hard for me to imagine this with anything except for an embodied robot that interacts with the universe, right? That walks, that talks, that sees things fall when you knock them over. Because if you don't, you have to have. I mean, ultimately, you drive intelligence and thinking through interaction with reality, not data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, we just train everything on data. So, the big thing is, let's just stop the BS and thinking that we're going to create artificial general intelligence. We're not. Nobody who's talking about this has any clue what they're doing, and it should just be put to bed. And if they put it to bed, then we can stop having the doom sayers who are saying that AI is going to take everybody's jobs and maybe decide human beings are useless and then exterminate us. We're so far away from that happening. It's very it's unhealthy. I think it's we have a cultural need, it seems, to have doom on the horizon. Like I grew up, it was, I grew up as a kid in the 80s being told that, there's going to be nuclear war and you have no future, right?
Right.
And it was environmentalism, the world is going to end by 2020 or whatever it is. And AI is the new one. It's like this is, it's a cultural indictment in a way, but I think it's false. And I think if people, especially Sam Altman, would stop talking about this and giving it legitimacy, but the thing is, he can't justify trillions of dollars in valuations in a machine that is a super complicated mimicking thing.
But he can buy a new yacht.
Yeah, and so he has to kind of BS because he's losing $80 million a day. So he has to keep raising capital. And, so I think, it's interesting. And I have now thousands of people who are AI experts who've connected with me on LinkedIn in the past several months. And I've noticed a few things. One is the people who seem to get this are in their 50s and 60s and older. And they were in language and AI programmers for 30, 40 years. Okay. Yeah. And they think about this much better than the guys who are creating LLMs now.
Right.
The other is that Europe in particular, and to an extent, Asia, I don't have as much connection because I don't think as many English readers there, but the Europeans who are into AI are more aware, I think, of the problems that LLMs have.
Okay.
And they don't want to be captured by that. I don't know why. It may just be an anti-American, anti-big tech prejudice, right? They just don't want anything that we build, right? Sure. Maybe that's all it is, or maybe that they're educated better on the subject. I don't know, but it's just two things I saw.
Yep. We got about a minute left. So your prognostications, sir, 5 years, 25 years, what do you see for this business, this industry?
5 years, I think that people are going to have tools that are going to be helpful to them more so than this. And there will be more options, more different architectures, more specialized aids, and that's a good thing. The LLMs are there's going to be a correction. Maybe those companies can figure out how to do something better. I don't know. There's a lot of startups that are going to be successful, I think. And once they start to get funding, because somebody pays attention to them. 25 years, I really think that's going to be, 100 million robots helping us out and hopefully having incredibly mind expanding experiences where, like the brilliant scientist right now can discover 10 drugs in his lifetime, right?
I hope so. I
hope
we have that, because then I'll be like 96. So
yes,
it'll be, I'm going to need that help. All the help I can get.
Help you can get by that time.
I think so. I'm optimistic, and I think that we're going to get that. I do not think we're going to have living computers. We might have Rosie from the Jetsons. Hopefully,
okay. Well, Rosie's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rosie rocks.
Chip Joyce, AI critic extraordinaire, perhaps a Renaissance man, perhaps even an urban prophet. I enjoyed having you here. I hope we have you on here again sometime. And it's been great.
It was great to talk to you.
It was a thrill to have you. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yep. Okay. So coming up this coming Thursday, our guest will be Dallas Beanhoff. He's a dear friend, and he's an experienced project manager and a proposal manager with a demonstrated history of developing concepts, leading project teams, and managing proposal teams for human and robotic civil and commercial space exploration and development missions. Now, he had a huge career at Boeing for many years, and now he's consulting on his own. So I'm going to love to have him on and get his perspective of everything that's been going on that we've all been witnessing for many years. As always, 8 p.m. Eastern. So for Sean Key and then Michael Lane, who couldn't join us tonight, I am Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.